Spartan Nation and beyond, what's happening? Ken, the super cool Spartan, my brother Brian, the super mad Spartan, Q, the woodshed, March Madness edition coming at you. Coming out the opening weekend, those fighting Spartans, those Spartan dogs of the hardwood, the IZZONE, marching on to the Sweet 16, had a good showing overall. And I can say that this weekend watching MSU wasn't on pins and needles as much compared to some of the games in the regular season. Even though that game against Louisville was a little spicy here and there, you know, we'll get into a little bit more in a few moments here. But overall, I think MSU had a good showing. The opening round here, we survived and advanced. You know, that first game against North Dakota State, started out maybe a tad bit slow, but MSU, they put their foot down, took care of business. Similar with Louisville, like I said before, a little bit dicey towards, you know, kind of here and there. But, you know, it was all said and done, took care of business, moved on. So what are your thoughts, Broski, of the MSU fighting dogs, Spartans? I know I'm kind of all over the place here a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little tired here. Stayed up all night, you know, watching both days, you know. So I think the sleep deprivation of March Madness is catching up to me a little bit here. So the floor is yours, though, Broski. The floor is yours. What are your thoughts of the
name of the game is Survive and Advance, right? So that's what we did, survived and advanced. North Dakota State, you know, we went out there and took care of business. You know, I think that game went about as expected. North Dakota State was known for being, you know, a tough rebounding team in their division, which is, you know, they're good there, but they're not Big Ten, Michigan State level. And what Michigan State likes to do is be physical, play defense, and run. And if you're not up to par in those areas, State is going to mash you. And that's what they did. Hence, Carson Cooper, I think he had, 20-something points? 20 and 10, double-double, dunks, dunks.
Double-double.
Cam Ward, dunk. You know, Cohen Carr.
Dunk City.
Dunk.
Super dunk.
You know, Fears is dishing it out. Fears.
dunk goose.
His offense has not been what we're used to seeing him, you know, percentage-wise, but he's been dishing out the assists. I think I said it was a 27 for the weekend.
Yeah.
Just check that report.
Yeah. I think he set a MSU school record with the assists.
In 16 years, so 27. He had 16 versus Louisville. And to your point, I think the first game, you know, went very much as expected. In the second game, Michigan State was basically in control the entire game. At no point did I feel like, oh, it's going to get dicey and we're going to lose. I think the more frustrating thing was that State has not played their best game yet. Because if State was firing all cylinders, they would have put Louisville out by 20 plus. Louisville has a one-trick pony. They shoot the three, and they weren't making their shots. State had them outside perimeter lockdown, but State wasn't making their shots.
But, and too many turnovers. A lot of turnovers.
A lot of turnovers. And I would say
turnovers.
That both squads did a good job of, I guess, keeping Fears out of the paint. But you can stop. But what we've seen now from Michigan State in these last two games, that you can stop Fears. We have other guys. You know, Louisville was really tough on, hey, we're going to stop Fears and we're not going to let your bigs dominate us. Okay, well, you're going to play small ball. You ain't got nothing for Cohen Carr. Not a thing. You have not, you guys have not seen an athlete like him. And we what we're really starting to see from Cohen Carr? The basketball game, the basketball skills, the skill set come out. What Izzo have been talking about, hey, His jumper
Yes,
is improved.
sir.
He can handle the rock a little bit. He's not just a dunker. And Louisville found out, like, hey, yeah, you can leave him open for them corner threes. His percentage hasn't been great throughout the year, but for the last few
Right.
games, he's been shooting it pretty well. And then you saw in that Louisville game, he
Yeah.
got confidence in his jumper. And
Yeah. Louisville
if you go
found
small
out
versus
from
Michigan
Cohen
State,
Carr.
yeah,
Yeah,
and you,
I was
you
gonna
you'll
say
find out
Louisville
quickly.
found out. Yeah, they found about Cohen Carr, FAFO. I'm sure you can figure out what that means. That's
Yes.
what they found out about Mr. Carr in that game.
What's crazy to me? I couldn't believe that was his first ever double double. That just seems
Yeah,
like
they
a
did
wild
say
stat
that.
to me.
Yeah. Right.
But then it kind of makes sense as if he hasn't really been asked to rebound a whole lot and score a whole lot. But in this game, he did it all. He was very intense
Yeah.
on defense. Nice blocks, hustling, running the court always. And he gonna do a dunky, highlight reel dunk every game. Well, like I said, he got into the paint, he had little mid-range jumpers, he had little hook shots. He was just all over the place. And I think it's
The
gonna be scary for
threes.
team to say, hey, well,
Yeah.
let's go small and try to take people. Well, if you go small, you better have the right person to against Cohen Carr because you're not gonna put a guard on them if they're too
Right.
little, and your big might not be able to keep up with them. So it's
Right.
you know it's been a
FAFO, baby.
it's nice to it's a nice thing to get back to the Sweet 16 regularly because there was a few years in there where we almost didn't make the tournament. We getting put out after winning the first game. And so at
Or
least
second.
consistently, like the last 4 years, we've been in the Sweet 16. So at a minimum, we're getting back to that. But really, we got to get back to putting up banners in that Final Four.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been a little over a quarter century now since we've done that. So we got to do that. Got to do that.
Quarter
But
century?
before,
So not for a Final
yeah,
Four.
I'm talking about putting
Final
up a
Four.
banner.
We
Talking
put
about
up a
putting up
banner
a
for Final
banner.
Four. So
No, I said it's
no,
been since 2000 since we put up a
national
national
championship. Yes.
championship banner. Yes. Yeah.
So you put up banners for put up a banner for Final Four because that's still a heck of an
Oh
accomplishment,
yeah.
and that's
Oh
always been
yeah.
like
Yeah, we've done
the
that. Yeah.
minimum standard. And we
Right.
haven't done that. Not since 2019.
Since
So that's still
yeah,
been a while.
2019. So yeah. Yep, it's time. It is time. But before we move forward here, gotta give some shout out, some love to the Lady Spartans. They had a one and done pretty much in the women's tournament. They won their opening game against Colorado State, 65-62. But then, unfortunately, they had a tough loss to Oklahoma yesterday, 77-71. So this one, give a shout out to the Lady Spartans. Robin Fralick, she's still building that program. This is only her third year. And, considering where she's at, and her this infancy stage, I guess I would say, of MSU women's hoops, she just grinding and continuing to build. So I just want to shout them out, the Lady Spartans. We still watching you guys over here, Cue the Woodshed. So we'll continue to keep our eyes on you, get you at the level of Tom Izzo, because there was one point, it was maybe about a decade ago, not maybe a decade and a half ago, where both the women's team and men's team made it to the Final Four. So we want to see that again. So, Lady Spartans, we still got your back. Just want to shout them out before we continue talking about the IZZONE.
Definitely a season to build on for next year.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. So, now, Sweet 16, We're facing the Uconn Huskies once again. We played them in the exhibition. We lost maybe about 2 to 4 points, but that team that played them back in October, totally different team here now in March. Uconn, they played UCLA, and they were kind of going back and forth for a while until, UCLA just didn't, they didn't have the horses to keep up with Uconn down the stretch. I think UCLA went into a funk of about 4 or 5 minutes without scoring, which in the tournament, you cannot afford to do that. You cannot have
Exactly,
scoring
has to be the end
droughts.
of you.
So that's what happened
Not
to
late in the game.
UCLA. Right. Yeah, especially late in the game. So UConn took care of business. So now it's Dan Hurley versus the IZZONE Sweet 16 coming up this Friday. So what are your thoughts on that matchup there, broski?
It's going to be a grind if both teams play good defense and rebound. I don't know if we're the best shooting teams out there because I watched that game. That's the first time I really watched UConn
Yeah, me
this season,
too.
because when we did the exhibition, they had guys, a lot of guys out, and we were basically trying to get our feet underneath us for it's an exhibition game, so you can't take a whole lot from
Right.
it. They're
Right. Can't
familiar
take
with
that
some
much
of the
from it.
players at least. Their starting center, Terrace Reed, was at Michigan for a few years, so we've seen him before. I want to
Yeah,
say
I heard that.
Michigan State
I
recruiting his
heard
younger
that.
brother for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a little familiarity there. I don't. It's going to be an interesting matchup because they kind of want to get inside, do dirty work, be physical, get rebounds. I don't know if they're the same type of we want to push the pace type team.
Mm-hmm.
They just got one of their starting point guard just came back from injury. His first game back was when they played UCLA. He didn't have a good game. He ended up not being in near the end a whole lot. So we'll see what he
Mm-hmm.
looks like next week, getting back in the swing of things. It's gonna be a war, and
Slobber knocker, as they
it's just it's go,
say.
yeah, it's gonna depend on if State can not get in those lows of offense that we've gotten into sometimes. We're gonna need our two guard position to show up and score, hit open shots. I believe we're gonna need Fears to score more regularly, and or at least get to the free throw line. Because during the Louisville game, the refs they weren't giving Fears anything. There are a few times like I know he flops, but he's getting bumped and fouled, and he's exaggerating it because you're not calling it. And
Right.
so if you can at least get a few, more trips to the line and hit a few more shots, that will bode well for us because if we're gonna get to the cup, we got to draw Terrace Reed out, and you're gonna have to get him out of there. It's gonna be a test for probably Carson Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
So I I suspect it's gonna go down to the wire for Michigan State, and you know State has been more consistent down the stretch than UConn, because UConn kind of went through a bad spell at the end of the season, and they lost. They were almost like 500. In State, for everything else, we were winning games, but our defense had not been where it was the beginning of the year. Now that could be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because Divine has been out, and he's at least a D1 athlete, and he can play good enough defense to be the starting two guard at the time. But when he got hurt, our defense, percentage wise, all the advanced metrics out there, they started
Took a dip.
torpedoing a little bit,
Dip, baby,
and we're
dip.
still trying to get back to playing that good defense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, we'll see how it's prepared. Izzo has a week, UConn has a week. We're going to show up. We have extra days rest to get to scout that team and be back home comfortable a little bit. So does the extra day help us? Maybe, but I assume they'll be well prepared.
Yes, I agree with you
What do you
on
think
that,
about it,
that
sir?
MSU will be well prepared because, Tom Tom Izzo, he ain't playing that. I know that despite them winning against Louisville, I know those turnovers is probably giving him ulcers. So I'm quite sure he's drilling that into the team's head. Like, we can't have no boneheaded ass turnovers against UConn. So that's number one. Number two, I like MSU's chances against UConn. I'm guessing that UConn be favored to win just because of the enamor of, is Dan Hurley, and he's won 2 national chips back to back, and it's UConn, and, State's kind of in that little engine, that could, run type of situation here. A little
UConn
bit,
has a
a
weird
little bit.
stat about them
So,
though. They're talking about it versus UCLA game that basically UConn they'll get if they don't they either don't get out the first weekend or they win a national championship. That's kind of
mhm.
been their MO for a little while. So and they might be favored. Hopefully we can break that cycle, break that chain.
Yeah.
Because I would love to get a shot at I'm assuming Duke is going to beat St. John's, but I you don't know. Just never know. Because those
Yeah, you don't.
that turnaround game is always different. Well, excuse not
Yeah.
turnaround game. That when teams have a week to prepare for you is different, because I said Louisville and North Dakota State, both you could tell they are prepared for Michigan State and what we do, especially Jeremy Fears and how we like to get the ball because we couldn't get the ball inside to Cole or Cooper very much in that
Mhm.
Louisville game.
Right.
And they were trying they slowed down our fast break a little bit, but Fears was dishing it out and people were making the shots. And I
Yeah.
think that's always a good recipe because maybe teams. Another thing too, I think that gets lost in translation that Michigan State's not a good 3-point shooting team. We're not a great 3-point shooter team, but we're not garbage either. You can't just let guys have open shots for us. We have
Right.
people who can make open shots. We
AKA
have
Kohler.
Polar can hit open shot. I think they kind of know about Kohler, so they don't let him get it too often. But it's really been Kurtang, and then
Trey
Trey the
Fort.
microwave Fort, unconscionable
Trey
shooter
the
in that Louisville
microwave
game.
Fort. Yeah.
He was there are at least 3 of his 4 3-pointers that he hit. He got the ball, just he was like, "Yep, I'm shooting." I was like, "Yo, I'm glad you made that because I'm pretty sure if you missed it, Izzo was going to pull you out the game." But he has confidence in
Yeah.
it, and that's what he's known for. He's there to shoot the ball. So okay, you're gonna sag off a little bit. Well, we're gonna shoot this 3. And one thing I noticed we haven't seen a lot during the tournament that we saw in the Big Ten a lot was a lot of teams that haven't gone zone versus Michigan State and dared them to shoot. So I wonder if we'll see that. I don't know if UConn does zone or not, but I don't think we've seen it in the tournament. A team just break out the zone, to try to muck it up, and because we can go cold and start missing a bunch of jumpers because that's what Louisville tried to do. Was Cohen Carr? Oh, we'll give you that jumper. Well, he hit 3 of them, so it's like, well, hey,
FAFO.
but Carr have to take that shot, and he's been making them more recently. But I don't know if it's something you can depend on. But if you're leaving like a 33% 3-point shooter just out on the wing, yeah, they're probably gonna burn you a little bit.
Yeah.
And probably for the year, Carr's not 30% 3-point shooter, but he has been the last like month or two. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. Because Hurley's a good coach.
Oh, yeah, he is. I'm not taking anything away from UConn. And I'm just saying that MSU probably will not be favored, but it's because of the prestige of UConn and Dan Hurley. I'm not taking anything away from him as a coach. I mean, he's definitely one of the top coaches in men's, college hoops. But I just think for this matchup, it just, as usual, comes down to fears. I've been saying this consistent theme all season long that you got to have good guard play, specifically from the point guard position, to get through the tournament. And fears, to your point, dishing out almost 30 assists coming out the first weekend of the tournament. I mean, that
27
is
assists is nuts.
spectacular. I mean, that's like Magic Johnson level. We're talking about the assists. And I do
He
agree
broke
with you
Magic's
that,
record.
yes, he did. He did. But I do think, like you were saying, for this game against UConn, well, for this weekend overall, if we get to the Sweet 16, we get to the Elite Eight, Fears would have to put that ball in the basket a little more. But, the way that he, controls the flow of the game, with his position, with, what he does in the court, I think that's going to be the main difference. Not just for the Sweet 16, but for the Elite Eight. If we make it there, which I think we do make it to the Elite Eight. And I was watching Big Ten Today earlier, and they had they talked about all the Big Ten teams that made it to the Sweet 16. And one comment that one of the on-air personalities said, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said that he believes this team reminds him of the 2015 Spartans, and that team was definitely nowhere at the level as this team here. But that 2015 team, with Travis Trice and I can't remember who else was on that. I think Denzel
Valentine and
Valentine was on
Bryn
that team,
Forbes.
but he was just yeah. He said that this team reminds him of that team in terms of, the grit, the very physical style of play, and that determination, to push through, move forward. And that team, that's probably Izzo's like worst team that made it to the Final Four that year.
Final Four, for sure.
So
I think we ended
he
up getting
says that
spanked
he
by Duke
sees,
that year in the Final Four, but
yeah, but just to
yeah,
make it, because I don't think anyone in their right mind thought that team would make it to the Final Four. But
no.
he said they
Funny
said
enough,
that this
we
team
beat
was this one.
Louisville that year too. I know that
Yeah, we
they gotta
did.
hate seeing us in the tournament. I know their fan base is like, Michigan State again, mother.
Right.
The message boards, IZZO and working the refs. They're, I like to lurk on other message boards to see how they feel about my squad. I like to,
Mm-hmm.
I like to enjoy other fans' tears every once in a while.
Yes,
So
their pain, their
they
agony.
Louisville, a lot of them, they complain about the refs. I was like, the refs? I don't think the refs had anything to do with the game. And,
Mm-mm.
if we just would have made shots, we would have won. I'm like, well, no shit, right? That's you say every game.
Right.
If we made shots,
Duh.
we would have won. I'm like, that's like saying,
If
well,
if
I can say
if
this: if State didn't turn the ball over, we'd have blew y'all out.
right.
Plain and simple. Because there are times in that game, State, I legitimately like State should be up by 20 points right now. Louisville has nothing for us. And I don't say that to be disrespectful, but you can see there's a few games like that in the tournament where you can just tell, oh, this team just has nothing for them. They're going to keep it close, but they're not going to come back. And
Mm-mm.
State just like, yeah, okay, you're going to get within a little bit, and then we're just going to do this. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to just take your heart every single time.
Right.
And that's what happened. Like a boa constrictor. We just choked them out slowly and put them to bed.
Yes, that's a great description there, broski. Boa constrictor just choked him to death, and all right, time to get out of here. Bye.
Nighttime.
Right. But for this game against UConn, Yeah, it's going to be a slobber knocker for sure, but I think in the end, the IZZO gets it done, Fears gets it done, and we move on to the Elite Eight. Now, who we face in the Elite Eight? That's a very good question because I've seen that a lot of, talking heads are now on St. John's because of, how they took out Kansas, and, they're going back to how they played, in their conference tournament, how they stomped, Uconn and, whatever magic Rippertino has going on with that team. And, some people have picked St. John's to beat Duke in the Sweet 16. Some people picked St. John's to make it to the Final Four. So it's going
It's
to be an
possible.
interesting matchup too with Duke and St. John's, because Duke really hasn't looked that great. I mean, even though, they stomped out, was it TCU? I think they played TCU in their second game, and that game was pretty close,
Yes.
but this kind of blew it out towards the end. But Duke hasn't been looking like a world beater, so they look very, beatable themselves.
It's close to losing in the first round.
Yeah,
Very close. That was a very losable game.
Yeah, right. You know what's funny? Side note, I think I saw that the coach of Siena now signed a big deal with Georgia Tech. I think he's Georgia Tech's new basketball coach now.
Hey, congratulations.
So,
It is. It's just a little
it's
side
funny.
note. It's just, I just want to bring this small caveat up because we had a few big wins, and then we saw some other teams. All right. So High Point came out and their coach went wild after the game. He was talking this talk. They won the game. Like, they don't want to play us. Okay, you won. Understandable. But we got to talk about Miami of Ohio, right? Now, they have been crowing for weeks about how they deserve the higher seeding and all this and that, all that, and they got their shit pushed in and sent back home.
Yes.
And I'm not
Back to
saying, oh
Miami of
man,
Ohio.
it's just you can talk that talk when you win. At High Point, they won their game. They beat Wisconsin. They deserve to talk that talk. Miami of Ohio was talking that talk before they stepped foot on the court in the tournament and got smacked. Like, go sit back in the corner. We have no time for you. So I'm a big fan of when you win, you can talk that shit. But you can't talk that shit until you win or have one. So
Yeah, that's the
especially
moral of
like
the story.
as like a MAC school, like, listen, understand, we see your record, we hear you, but you're gonna have to beat somebody to talk that stuff. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But I just want to say that because I'm not against Cinderella, I'm not against the small teams when but you gotta win. You can't be talking the stuff before you win.
Right.
And shout out to Wisconsin for
And
doing what Wisconsin does in a tournament, choking. You can In the Big
Yeah.
Ten, I can guarantee it was always going to be Wisconsin and Iowa choking in a tournament, just regardless.
Except for this year
Not
with
just you,
Iowa, they pulled the
except for
biggest
Iowa. Yeah, that's what I'm
upset.
saying.
They pulled the biggest upset of the weekend.
I've given Iowa their credit. They fired their coach because he was a choke artist in the tournament, and they got them a winner. So, hey, maybe they can learn. Maybe Wisconsin can learn a few things.
Yeah, Iowa, man. Shout out to them. They pulled off the biggest upset in the tournament, taking out Florida. And You know, they're facing one of their Big Ten rivals, Nebraska. I gave Nebraska some love. I mean, they went from winning 0. You know, they put up a donut in tournament games to make it to the Sweet 16. So the Big Ten overall, they have a great show. I mean, they had the most teams that made it to the Sweet 16. There's a Big Ten matchup for the Sweet 16, Iowa and Nebraska. You know, Illinois, they joined the party. You know, their prize, well, unfortunately, was, they could play Houston, in their game. But yeah,
this is a big game for Illinois
yeah,
because
Big Ten, bro, they showed out this year so far.
They're a Sweet 16 choke artist. No, that's harsh. I shouldn't say they're not a choke artist, but they're a team that has not lived up to the expectations. Yeah, they're a team that has not lived up to expectations of their rankings and wins in the Big Ten. Like they got to win that game. I don't think they will. Trust me, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I don't think they will either.
We'll see about Brad Underwood and what they do. I don't think they're going to win. I'm not rooting for them either, so good luck.
I do want to go to the message boards, though, because you always talked about how Illinois always loves to cry wolf, especially when they play MSU. So I want to go to their message boards after their Sweet 16 game.
IZZO. We're going to get screwed. Well, you haven't beat us in 2 years, guys. Like, we played home and home and back. Like let's be okay. You can hate Izzo, you're not going to get the calls in Breslin. Okay, what about when we beat you in your home court? Well, it's because
you can't.
No.
No.
Keep it consistent.
No, you can't cry wolf. You don't get the calls in your own home court.
Yeah, it's tough to win on the road in the Big Ten. So you lose at someone else's spot, okay, tip of the cap to them. I don't want to hear crying wolf. That's like me saying, oh man, the refs cost us the game in Chrysler. Michigan's not that good. They beat us.
Mm-hmm.
They won. Like, I can say it. Like, it doesn't hurt to say it.
No, it doesn't.
There's some fan bases that it's always they're cheating. It's Don Izzo. He's always working the refs, and they get all the calls, and they just foul up and down the court. I've seen all this ridiculous stuff. Like, okay, if Tom Izzo had so much pull, he would have 4 national championships.
Right.
Like, let's just stop it.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of that team down the road, I think they're playing Alabama, I think, next. They'll probably slap them around.
I feel like with Florida going, I damn near feel like they have a cakewalk to the national championship. Maybe not a cakewalk. Cakewalk's a strong word, but I feel like at this point with Florida being gone, because I think Florida matched up well with like their bigs.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I feel like if they'll make a national championship, it might be one of those disappointing seasons. And I know that's hyperbole, but what else would it be good for? Like, I think they're a shoo-in to make the Final Four at this point.
It'd be good for
recruiting when you can tamper.
What? Are you accusing Captain Kirk of tampering?
They may probably call some folks right now.
Yeah, he probably is.
Ain't no rules of the game, so yeah, he tampering. Now everybody knows the rumors out there about Dusty, man. That's fine. It's okay. they win it on the court too, so you can be sour grapes about him cheating and tampering and calling people up. Probably right now, leaving Drake messages on other teams' losers. Hey man, get a good game out there.
Probably got Connor Stein somewhere, and probably got Connor Steins out there on the payroll secretly. He don't mind doing an operation on the road. It is
what it is.
Taking a cheating operation on the road. You don't mind doing that, going to stadium to stadium, arena to arena. He probably at
Sunglasses
North
out.
Carolina right now. Like, hey, I know y'all kind of, I know y'all mad about at Hubert
I know
Davis.
y'all coach might be gone.
I know.
Your coach might be leaving soon. We got your boy Cadeau already. We talked to him last year.
Here's a little down
Don't fuck with the
payment
money
here,
over
slide
here.
under your clipboard. Right. Here's a little $10K for a down payment to get you over to Ann Arbor. Right.
No, but all seriousness, I think Michigan will they'll make, at a minimum, they'll be in the Final Four. I think their bracket was reasonable enough. I don't think there's too many teams that can, can hurt them. They're not invincible, but again, we're at Sweet 16, Elite 8, you're playing like the best of the best remaining. No matter how you feel about some of those squads, they've made it here. And there haven't been, Iowa didn't beat Florida by a fluke. They beat them.
No.
Like that wasn't
they beat
like,
them. Yes.
Some weird stuff happened. They came back. No, they were winning that game damn near start to finish. Florida made a run. They came back, but all these teams left are real deal teams. It's not going to be easy for anybody in their imagination, to get there. I'm saying I think Michigan has enough. I've seen them play. They're a good enough basketball team to get to the Final Four at a minimum.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
We're against them the whole way, though. I'm not gonna hold you up about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hey.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely, I'm going to find some Crimson Tide to put up on the TV screen and say, "Go Alabama." I'm gonna have to call up Uncle Ray and say, "Hey, Uncle Ray, can I borrow some of your paraphernalia for this one game?"
Two different sides of the cheating coins.
So yeah,
Dustin Maleka Tamper and NATO's supposed to get him a G League player. So we'll see how it works out.
Right.
It's not cheating. It's just the rules. It's the rules the way they are. It's not cheating. I kid. It's not cheating. Unethical, one might say. How they call Jamie Fears an unethical hooper. He draws. He's an unethical basketball player. He tries to draw fouls.
Right.
Ethics.
Right. While Michigan center Mara, he's dropping elbows in your back and the necks and pushing you, shoving you.
And holding.
What did I do? What did I do? Then Captain Kirk, what did he do? Like, okay.
Like the wrestler, you do a nut shot and look around like, what? I didn't do anything. What are you kicking nuts? Well, I really shouldn't say anything about people getting kicked in their nuts with our point guard's history.
So far, so good, though. So far, so good.
Yes, there has not been any Jamie Fears incidents to report so far. Yes, hopefully we keep that keep that type of play away.
Before I forget, I want to get your quick thoughts on the freshmen. The freshman thoughts here on Cam Ward and Jordan Scott. What do you think about their performance so far in the tournament? Do they look like freshmen? Are they just playing their position? Are they playing above their position? What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're handling themselves well. Jordan Scott seemed to be a little bit more, nervous that first game. He's seen it come around a lot more in the second game. I think Izzo even say, "Hey, you still nervous over here in the locker room?" to Jordan Scott. That first game, Cam Moore came off the bench with all types of energy, just dump, rebound, dunk, and he did that in the second game as well. And so we're going to need them to be, we're going to need those guys. There's going to be points. And Jordan Scott, and to be clear, every game, Jordan Scott makes some type of big play out of the blue. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing he's consistently done. He'll have a bad shooting game. Maybe his defense won't be the greatest, but then he comes up with the big 3-pointer or a big rebound or a big or something. He does it every single
Yeah,
game,
that's
and we need
true.
to
Yeah.
continue to stack on that. And then Cam Ward is just he tries to be bully out there and brings the energy. And that's what we need. And I suspect you're going to see a lot of him because there are probably going to be a good number of fouls versus Uconn. Two physical teams battling each other. You're going to need another big body out there pushing people around and taking up fouls. And
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward can do that. So far, so good on the freshman.
Do you think?
We've seen them growing all year. Cam Ward, he was started off the year really, really hot. And he hurt his wrist. He kind of, just here and there. So he's back healthy. We're kind of seeing that same guy we saw at the beginning of the year. And then Jordan Scott kind of just came on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
because he had to. So, so far so good for the freshman, in my opinion.
Out of necessity. Yeah. Do you think that we'll see some unknown faces come off the bench against UConn? Maybe like a Jesse McCullough or a I don't know who else.
That'll be the only
Because
one that'll
IZZO,
be
he don't
kinda
mind. He
that's
don't
different.
mind bringing off some players. Be like,
If it's a good matchup, you know what? I have to say this because this person gets a lot of flag. It's not their fault. Denim Mojic has played as good as expected of him to play in these first two tournament games. And I wanted to shout out because number one, I gave a shout out to him in that North Dakota State game. He had a layup where he comes down and switches hands and goes to the left and like makes a layup and has like a jumper too. I'm like, see you, Denim. And then he came in versus Louisville and was very solid. Didn't turn the ball over, played good enough defense, and
yeah, he
that's
does his
that's all
job.
we need from him. And
Right.
that's what we needed, and that's what he delivered. So shout out to him because I know people, oh, why is he coming in the game? What? Because he has to, and
Right, he has
he's done the
to.
job that he's been asked to do. And I think that you
Right,
can't ask him any more than that.
right. That's what I was explaining to my my college buddies. Like, he has to play because you can't have Fears out there for the entire 40 minutes. He needs some rest here and there. And if he gets in foul trouble, I don't think Fears got into foul trouble yet in the tournament. But if that happens, you gonna give the ball to who?
If that happens, we're gonna lose. I tell you straight up. If Fears gets like 3 fouls in the
right.
first like 10 minutes of the first half, oh,
right.
we're cooked.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I agree. Shout out to Wojcik doing his thing. We're going to need him too as we continue down this march of madness.
Just give us a solid like 8 minutes, 6 minutes per game. Hopefully.
6.5.
Like just something.
Right.
Just give us something.
Something.
He has, so I'm not hating. No, I'm not throwing any shade. I'm genuinely like, shout out to him.
I agree. I'm with you. I am with you. All right, it's that time once again, the fun hoops fact here. So I really had to dig in the crates for this one, Brian, because you've been winning these last few
You
rounds
sure?
of getting these hoops facts right. Yes, you have. You surprised me last time when you talked, when you guessed, Wisconsin, that's who Michigan State played in the Elite Eight in the 2000 year national championship year to get to the Final Four. I didn't think you would guess that, but you did. So this one, I flipped the script a little bit because, since we've been doing the Hoop podcast and, we're doing the women's with the men's, this fun basketball fact is one about Michigan State women's hoops. So I think this one is going to be, you're just going to take a dart, throw on the dartboard to guess the right answer.
I surprised you, broski.
So, yeah, you might. We'll see. So, the question is, who is the all-time assist leader in women's hoops? Is it Kristen Haney, Kennedy Blair, or Taryn McCutcheon? All-time assist leader for MSU women's hoops. You need the Jeopardy music.
Is it Candy Blair?
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Yeah. Hold on. Before I give the answer, in the background, our music producer, Mr. Ethan 8-Bit Williams, was a crack at it. So here, come in the camera, son. Come on, we're on the air. What you wasting our airspace here now? Come on, say hi to the audience.
Hi.
This is the music
Hello,
producer
nephew.
here. Look up. All right, so what's your answer?
Taryn McCutcheon, whatever her name is.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay, go get your food, son. So, Brian, you got it wrong, but Ethan got it right.
He cheating on the test.
Yeah, he did. He did
That's
cheat
the
a little
American
bit.
way.
Yes,
Lie,
it is.
cheat, steal.
But the answer is Taryn McCutcheon. She has 582 assists. She was MSU from 2016 to 2020. Kristen Haney, that's who Taryn beat. She's number 2 on the list with 574 assists. And Kennedy Blair, she's the current starting point guard for the MSU team now. So I don't know if she's on the list yet. I think she may be getting there. But she's the current point guard of the women's team. Yeah. But she's a good point guard. I think she's
familiar.
sophomore.
I was way off. She has time to be number 1 on the list.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take an
yeah.
L. I would
yeah.
take a responsible L.
So, I wanted to show some love to MSU's women's hoops here because, we've been so focused on the men. And like I said, we were mixing in the women's hoops, giving the Lady Spartans some love. So I said, you know what? Let me do a fun hoops fact about the women's basketball team. So, so we've all learned something tonight.
Up.
Yes, we all learned something about women's hoops. So, yep. Shout out to Taryn McCutcheon having the all-time assists for Michigan State women's hoops. Ethan said that he did not cheat using Google or Gemini or Alexa or, all those AI things now that are currently part of our lives before Skynet becomes fully active.
Shout out to Ethan.
Okay. I heard you, son. I heard you. Well, we're at that time once again, another fine episode of Cue the Woodshed, the Hoops edition, March Madness edition here in the books. Make sure you check us out on our social media. We will continue to do these hoop podcasts as long as MSU is marching through the madness here. Make sure you check us out. Also, all of our podcasts are on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music. I have to make sure that we point that out there, broski. In the podcast universe, we're in all times of different platforms here. And we love to hear from you. I've heard some of you guys talking a lot of trash, on the comments section of TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. So, we can take the heat, but we also give it. So bring it. bring it. We love to hear from y'all. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, whatever. We can take the heat and we can dish it out. So on that note, I'm Ken, the super cool Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Q the Woodshed, and we are out. Go green.
Go white.